Time takes a toll on everyone, they say. Time is merciless, it won't wait for us to change. Time, I am stressing out, I can't figure out what to say. Oh, time, just give us time. Time, looking back on pictures, and I find it hard to see you and myself in places where we used.
You always here. I truly appreciate that. Oh, did I even greet you? Good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening from wherever you are watching us from here at the UNN TV. For those of you who may not know me, or who may need a reminder, I should say, my name is Hanifa, and I'm here yet with your Rights in the Law show here at the UNN TV. Yes, it happens every Sunday. Sometimes, life happens, and for example, last weekend I was unable to, be here with you, but every now and then, whenever I get some time, I'm always here for the Rights in the Law show here every Sunday. And also, like we've always said, we are not the most knowledgeable or the most educated people here at the UNN, but the main reason we are here is to give you information we have, share information we have with you. We also learn from you. Interestingly, we learn things from you, our viewers. So by doing so, by sharing information with you, we are enabling you to become an active citizen, as it is believed that it is only an informed citizen who can be an active citizen, which put in the sense that if you do not know about something, there's no way you may put up about start asking about questions and all that kind of thing, which is why we are always here. It's like every time we always come up and talk about things, share with you lots of things. Yes, as I say that, may you please not forget to share the video with somebody you may think or you may feel may benefit from whatever I have to share this afternoon, this evening, or this night. Yes, because it's nighttime my side. Thank you very much, and without any further ado, I'll be going into today's episode. Well, today is episode number 6. Wow, time really flies, and just like yesterday, I was just beginning to do this recording. So in today's episode, I'll be talking about public accountability in a representative democracy. When you talk about Uganda carries itself as a very democratic country. So is it really a democratic country, or this is something which is on paper? Well, the term accountability has come up a few times in my previous episodes. For example, in the leadership series, human rights series, and responsible governments, and many others. We've heard about it quite some time, every now and then, about accountability. What is it anyways? What does it really mean? In today's episode, I will be exploring accountability in a representative democracy. I guess by this time, when I talk about accountability, we are not referring to money, but rather lots of factors and considerations. So I think by now we're very aware of that. By representative democracy, we are referring to a democracy where eligible citizens elect members of parliament to make decisions and laws on their behalf. So, for example, the recently concluded elections where people in Uganda elected their representatives, so that's why we call about representative democracy. Accountability has then been described as the hallmark of modern democratic governance. Accountability then refers to the obligations of a public enterprise and agencies who are entrusted with public resources to be answerable for physical and social responsibilities to those who have assigned such responsibilities to them. Accountability involves citizens holding their leaders accountable for their actions, most especially if the actions are against the public good. For example, where you ask your leader, may say, to dig up a borehole or build a road or, probe for a law or do anything. So now we're asking, okay, for example, when when holding our leaders accountable, we're asking them, how far have you gone? What went wrong? What went right? Give us feedback. That's what we call about accountability. Accountability is not a new idea. For example, Benjamin Disraeli, a 19th century British politician, wrote that all power is a trust that we are accountable for its exercise, and that from the people and for the people all springs and all must exist. So we are getting all the power from the people. That's what it means. Hence why accountability is believed to lie at the heart of a democratic government. Remember, Uganda is perceived as a democratic country. Is it just on paper, or is it like really a democratic country? For that question, I'll leave you to answer that. At the heart of accountability is a relationship between those responsible for something and those who have a role in the passing of judgment on how well that responsibility has been discharged. So we asked our leader to build a road. Have they done it? So we're holding them accountable. When accountability works well, it enables a degree of feedback between the government and the public that it serves. Hear me right, It's the government serving you, the ordinary citizen, the everyday Ugandan, not the other way around, where in Uganda it's the citizen serving the government. So, where the public's power is entrusted to others, there is an important and an overreaching constitutional and fiduciary principle that those entrusted with public power are accountable to the public for the exercise of their trust. It is also observed that public's trust in the public sector and public service is closely related to the level of confidence the public has in the public, Is there confidence in the Ugandan public? Is it comfortable in its government? I don't think so. So by public sector, we are referring to the production, delivery, and the allocation of goods and services by and for the government or its citizens, whether at the central or local government level. The public sector covers all government ministries and agencies of government. So being accountable to the public is an obligation of all those who hold office or employment in the government system. So if you hold a government position, then you are accountable. It is a burden that is placed on the public sector when it accepts responsibility for exercising power on behalf of the public. Remember, the public is you, the ordinary citizen, the everyday Ugandan, the taxpayer. You are the public. We agree that public accountability comes from the need for a trusting relationship between the public sector and the public. It is about the public sector demonstrating competence, reliability, and honesty in a way that allows the public to judge the trustworthiness in using public money and resources and public resources. So that makes me actually, is your leader trustworthy? Do you think when they have all these at their disposal, can they be held accountable? Public accountability is a crucial instrument in a democratic society alongside a safeguard of rule of law and a tool of learning in policy. It is acknowledged that there is complexity of accountability in modern government arrangements, and there is a continuum of accountability relationships, both at vertical and horizontal between the public sector, the government, the parliament, and the Ugandan citizens. So all these are intertwined, kind of. Nevertheless, there are some fundamental tenets and practices of accountability that are well established in public administration. And that brings us to the question: is public accountability a reality in Uganda? Is public accountability a reality, or is it a myth in Uganda? Rather a myth, and is it real? We see legislation prescription for public accountability is contained in several pieces of legislation. For example, the Ministry of Public Services, the Ugandan Constitution, the PPDA, the IG Act. There is the Leadership Code of Act. We have the Anti-Money Laundering Act. We have the Whistleblowers Act. There are lots of, measures put in place to cater for accountability in Uganda, actually. But then we see, do these things also work, So the government ministers have, under the Constitution, a doctrine of responsible government, and both collective and individual responsibilities. So the minister of, say, of education, the minister of so and so has a constitutional responsibility. Accountability is a minister is accountable to the parliament for the policies and actions implemented by his or her department. So as earlier mentioned, all measures and legislations have been put in place holding these ministers, public servants, accountable for their action. For example, by now, if there was accountability in the public sector, the Ministry of Education or the Ministry of Health would be held accountable. Like, what have you done? What are the goods? How far have you gone, for example, with trying to curb down COVID? How far have you gone with setting up hospitals, for, makeshift hospitals and all that kind of thing? We will be holding these people accountable if there was accountability. However, little has been done at all in, holding these people accountable, and there's so much corruption in Uganda, which makes you like, for example, the government has not supported the IGG to fight corruption. Corrupt officials are let off the hook because they are related to, or they are allies to, the ruling family. And one wonders, why was the IGG, for example, set up? Because it was meant to hold these people accountable, but you're like, why did you even waste time and money setting it up? This has resulted into patronage and impunity, which makes some people in government beyond the arm of the law. Hence why at liberty and misuse of public funds without being held accountable. The current system has made it hard for the bearers to prosecute cases of misuse of public funds by officials. For example, this guy of the Gavi Fund, embezzlement, and many others, whereby then the health minister and his counterpart were let off the hook, simply because they are relatives and they are allies to the ruling family. This is shocking. So we're not really in a democratic country, kind of. Further, the system has led to an increase to lack of trust in public institutions by the public due to the fact that there are few corrupt officials, if any, that have been convicted or who have been held accountable for their actions. By now, the Minister of Education, the Minister of Health, if I was, they will be held accountable. Give us answers. Don't just come here and, bullshit about things, There is also an increasing level of acceptance of corruption among the public, interestingly, and citizens have been made to believe that they are servants to the government officials. This is attributed to the fact that some people have come out openly to support and praise corruption in media and lack of, incompetence. People praise it, which is crazy, so due to the continued lack of accountability at the courts of law, for example, there is a misuse of discretion of judicial officials while handling cases. Judiciary in Uganda, we have witnessed unfair hearings and the inaccessibility of justice by citizens, corruption. There is bribery and failed judiciary simply because there is no accountability whatsoever. Everyone just does what they please, no one is going to ask me questions, that kind of attitude. In functioning democracies, judges are accountable to the law and the community. The judiciary is an independent arm of government and it is accountable. You can't just do things because okay, no one is going to ask me. I'll do whatever I want. Even in our own lives, we are accountable to some degree or some extent, However, in Uganda, this is completely the opposite, where a victim seeking justice has to meet the president to ever be able to get justice, if ever, Bags of money exchange hands at the courthouse where judges are bribed, prosecutors are bribed, oh my goodness, simply because there is no accountability. It should be remembered that the duties of the judiciary are owed to the law, which is therefore the peace, order, and good government of for the good of the community. Simply, the point is made that accountability is required nowadays in most areas of public life, and that the judiciary should be no exemption, because we all held accountable. If all ministries and all kind of things are held accountable, why not the judiciary? Which is exactly the case in Uganda. This has been acknowledged by one of the Australian Justice McCarvey, that judges are like all other officials on the community and must be held accountable to the community. So if this happened in Uganda, maybe the judiciary would be functions. For the case of Uganda, as earlier mentioned, judiciary is a very far away dream, one that can only be realized and trust rebuilt in a leader under a federal system of governance. As I conclude today, what can be done in Uganda for a better Uganda? As it's known, we only have that one place we call home. And in a better Uganda, we would start to mobilize, sensitize, and empower citizens to demand for transparency and accountability from their leaders. It is your responsibility to hold your leaders accountable. They are your servants, not the other way around, like you are their servants, Further, a deliberate intervention one that aims at increasing citizens' participation in monitoring utilization of public resources, increased interference, and a dialogue between leaders and the people they serve to share experiences and ideas on how best to improve service delivery in their localities or in their areas of residence. Where leaders will not act like they are from Mars, governing people who are on Earth. How is it like in Uganda today? Our leaders are just like, they're untouchable. That's how they feel like, If they were held accountable, maybe things would be different. As public accountability is about maintaining trusting relationship between the public sector and the public, then the way the public sector interacts with the public is also important, and this has to change when we go in Uganda and in the federal system of governance. So before I sign off today, I will leave you with my favorite quote of the week, which goes like, if we find that a person is competent in the relevant matter and the reliability and honest, we'll have a pretty good reason to trust them because they have been trustworthy. This is a quote by someone called O'Neill in a TED Talk in June 2013. So, do you trust your leader? Do you trust your government? Do you trust your local leader? So are you a trustworthy person if you are to be a leader? Because we are all leaders in one kind of way, which is why I would say in a better federal system of governance, we are holding our leaders accountable. Government institutions are being accountable. So what have you done? What have you achieved? All these have to be in place. Are you performing? Are you being productive? All these have to be asked. So where non-performing ministries, non-performing ministers, non-performing leaders, we don't have to are voted out or are thrown out, can be easily replaced. But in today's Uganda, you see someone has been as dormant as, what's the most dormant thing? A leader, someone leading a ministry. Their ministry, say for example, the Ministry of Education. I'm so angry at this person who heads the Ministry of Education in Uganda. She has been as dormant as a coffin, in a sense that there has been nothing achieved. There is no hope for our students in Uganda, where it's coming to 2 years. Students at home. It's only in Uganda where students are home. Parents are not being given feedback on what, you need that daily feedback. When is my child going to school? When is my child going to be able to be back in class? And then someone comes out in all their human being shape, should say, in all them being an adult, and they utter out complete garbage, I should say, complete nonsense, but these people are still being ministers. This is not the Uganda we want to be. This is not the Uganda which we want to raise our children in, because for us, all adults by now, maybe bad luck, we've suffered in a very bad country which has bad leadership. But how about the future generation? They are at home, seated. I was having a conversation with somebody, interviewing somebody in Uganda who told me, I didn't know there was even tax on on internet. That I didn't know. That was a new one for me. And then I'm like, okay, so there's tax on the internet. But the same minister sits every day on the TV, gives press conferences on internet, asking people to be doing remote learning. How many people in Uganda are able to really afford internet, truthfully speaking? This is going to be like for the few people who are still the very corrupt officials who will be able to afford internet so that their children are able to do the remote learning. So this person said, now I gave up on buying data. I don't have the money to buy the data. I have this person has 4 children, so imagine buying that and paying taxes for 4 children, because the classes are different classes. So this person said, we've resorted to farming, because the schools, the likelihood of the Minister of Education opening schools is close to nothing, is close to none. So schools in Uganda may not be opened until 2022 or 2023, if I'm not so sure, but But everywhere in the world, yeah, we've had COVID where, yeah, man, students have been going to school. If it calls for remote learning, yeah, there's remote learning. The government puts things necessary to help a parent, because not everybody is rich, not everybody has a computer, not everybody has this. So they try to, to do everything necessary to see that our children, students are back to school, they're learning, they're not missing a year or, say, in Uganda's case, 2 years without education. So if there was, really democracy, which democracy calls for accountability, the person in charge of the Ministry of Education would be long gone. They are not performing. They're not performing at all, so they'll be already gone. So I would be sit here and vent for the next 20-30 minutes. But I would like to say thank you for sitting here listening to me, and if you do have any more questions, suggestions, and anything else, please leave us an email at hello@getunn.com. Or also, actually I forgot. Someone mentioned that I am very soft when I'm speaking, or my voice is low. Truthfully speaking, I'm a soft speaker as a person, so I am learning. This is a new gig, like I said, we learn from each other. So I'm learning mainly to speak to a broader public. So maybe I'll get there, but thank you for that feedback. I truly appreciate. So I hope today is loud enough. Hopefully, I don't know. Anyways, until next time, my name is Hanifa once again. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Until we meet again next week, inshallah. Have a great time. Jambo.